4 real cases, 4 ordinary settings, a hotel room, a parked car, a hallway outside guest doors, a single-user restroom. And in every one of them, the story turns on the exact same moment. A person realizes they're being watched. Tonight, we're not telling urban legends. We're reading the record, published reports, police releases, and first-hand accounts that went public because somebody spoke up. And if you're the kind of person who likes to fall asleep to scary stories, I'm warning you right now, these don't end when the lights go off. Let's get into the first story. In late March 2025, a solo traveler in Tokyo checked into what she described as a legitimate hotel. Keycard access, nothing outwardly suspicious. The incident later spread online through her video posts and then through coverage from major outlets. People magazine identifies her as Natalisi Takasisi. The Guardian later published a first-person account under the name Natalie Komenko, describing the same core sequence of events. Tokyo, a strange smell, eyes in the dark under the bed, and police finding charging equipment afterwards. Here's the timeline as it's described in those reports. She returns to her room after sightseeing at around 7:30 p.m. She unlocks the door normally. She settles in. She even lies down on the bed, because nothing has happened yet that wouldn't tell her she shouldn't. Then she notices an odor. Not the smell of the room being off, not mildew, not smoke. The way she describes it, it's strong enough that she starts trying to rationalize it. Maybe it's her hair, maybe it's the sheets, until she realizes it's coming from one place, under the bed. That's where this story stops being a weird hotel review and becomes something else. Because when she looks underneath, she reports seeing eyes staring back at her from the darkness. A man is there. The Guardian account says the intruder climbed out in a way that briefly blocked her path to the door. An important detail because it explains why the next seconds felt like an ambush instead of a surprise. She screams. And according to both accounts, the intruder screams too, then bolts out of the room and into the corridor. Now here's what makes this incident linger, even after he runs. It isn't just the fear of the moment, it's what comes next. The Guardian account describes 2 tourists hearing the screaming and standing outside the door, checking on her, only for her to realize she's still yelling even after the man is gone. Hotel staff and police arrive, and police look under the bed. According to both People and the Guardian's account, officers locate a USB cable and a power bank under the bed. That detail changes the shape of the story, because a man hiding under a bed is terrifying on its own. But charging equipment suggests preparation, staying there longer, powering something, potentially recording. And then, in both reports, the response becomes part of the horror. People reports she said the hotel could not explain how he got into the room, and she claimed she was told the building didn't have cameras that would help identify him. The Guardian account describes the police telling her they likely wouldn't find him due to the lack of cameras, and she describes being shocked by how casually it was handled. Just sit with that for a second. A person can get locked into your room, hide under your bed, and vanish down the hallway. And the system can respond with something that sounds uncomfortably close to, that's unfortunate. The Guardian account ends with her saying she struggled to get updates and feared nothing would come of it, yet she continued pushing because she wanted accountability and awareness. And that's the sting on story 1. The most disturbing part might not be the hiding place. It might be the possibility that, without a viral post, this would have disappeared as quietly as the man did. Next, a case that starts with a phone notification and ends with a family realizing home might have already been added to someone else's map. Let's get into it. On November 4, 2025, a local Louisiana news station, KPLC, published a report about a woman in Sulphur, Louisiana, who said she found an Apple AirTag in her car and believed it was used to track her. The woman chose to remain anonymous, and the report is structured like many local warning stories are. A specific incident, a quote from a shaken family, and advice for viewers who might not realize how easily something like this can happen. Here are the details as reported. Her daughter receives an alert indicating an AirTag was moving with her, enough for them to file a complaint with the Sulphur Police Department. The mother describes the aftermath in mundane terms that are almost more unsettling than the dramatic language. Checking the door multiple times before bed. Because that's what fear does in real life. It doesn't always make you scream. Sometimes it makes you do the same tiny action again and again, hoping repetition equals safety. The mother also describes seeing a man around her car acting suspicious before the family fully understood what the notification meant. And then comes the detail that makes the story feel uncomfortably modern. The family believed the AirTag was already in the vehicle, but it wasn't detected until the daughter, who has an iPhone, got in the car. So for a period of time, the tracker could have been there, silently, with no obvious sign. KPLC includes a line from Apple's own explanation of safety features, what Apple calls unwanted tracking alerts, designed to notify you if a Find My compatible device is traveling with you over time. Apple's support guidance also notes that the Find My app can display where the unknown item was detected near you, and that these alerts exist specifically to discourage tracking without consent. But even in a best-case scenario, where the alert works, here's what the family says changes. The daughter says it alters how she lives, especially the idea that someone could now know where she lives, and that she might be home alone sometimes. Her father's quote is short and heavy. He frames it as an attempt that didn't succeed, and says the community should know what's happening. There's no movie monster in this story, just a small device meant for keys. According to a Newport Police Department release published through Flash Alert, officers were dispatched to a Holiday Inn Express in South Beach on September 14, 2025, after a report of suspicious activity involving a former guest. The activity, police said, occurred between September 12th and 14th. An employee reportedly observed a male guest placing a small camera under multiple guest doors. The suspect was identified as Sabin Robert McKinnon, 39, of Billings, Montana, according to the release and corroborating coverage. KPTV's report adds operational detail. Police said security footage captured the act, and that the camera captured live video that was sent to his phone, recordings that showed him repeating it under several doors. That's the part that changes your relationship with a hotel door, because most people think of the door as the boundary. Inside is private, outside is public, and the lock is the line. This case, as alleged, turns the space under the door into a pipeline. Now the timeline continues. By the time officers responded, police said McKinnon had already left the area. He'd been staying with a large group of foresters. Investigators tracked him to Cornwallis, where police said he was attending a conference at Oregon State University, and he was arrested with help from local agencies. The KPTV report also includes a line that widens the scope. Investigators said the case suggested he'd stayed in hotels and motels across multiple states for work, and may have been secretly recording guests for years, storing videos on devices. That's the nightmare math, because it's not just one hallway. It's the possibility of a pattern, a method that travels, and it creates a new kind of dread. Not what if something happens, but what if it already did, and you'll never know. Because if you don't catch someone doing it, if you never glance into the hallway at the wrong moment, there's nothing to notice afterward. No broken window, no missing items, no sign at all. Just the quiet knowledge that privacy can be taken without you ever realizing it was removed. And that brings us to the last case, where the only reason the recording stopped is because one customer decided to look up into an air vent and didn't accept what she saw as probably nothing. Let's get into it. This story is unusually well documented because the Santa Rosa Police Department released their details down to the minute. According to the city's published SRPD release, on Monday, December 23, 2024, officers were dispatched to Ohana Hawaiian Barbecue at 2150 Santa Rosa Avenue to investigate a report of recording devices, described as a cell phone inside an air vent on the ceiling of a woman's restroom. The restroom is described as a single-user bathroom. The reporting notes a critical human detail. The patron had a habit of checking vents in public restrooms after seeing social media videos about hidden recording devices. So, she looks. And she sees what appears to be a phone positioned with the camera lens facing into the bathroom. She does not hesitate to contact police. Then, this is the part that makes the incident feel immediate, physical, and real. She notifies the manager of the restaurant and guards the bathroom, not allowing anyone to enter until law enforcement arrives. When officers arrive, they remove the vent cover and recover the phone. Police state they noted the phone was recording video and had been recording for approximately 46 minutes. They determined the phone belonged to the restaurant manager, named in the police release as Daniel Nam, 37, of Santa Rosa. CBS Bay Area's write-up lists the name as Daniel Nam, Daniel spelled D-A-N-I-A-L, in its recap of police statements. One of those small inconsistencies you see when local cases move quickly through multiple outlets. The SRPD release states detectives believed Nam used a concealed recording device to invade privacy, cites the relevant California Penal Code section, and notes investigators seized a phone and laptop to review contents and identify additional victims. The release also states investigators did not yet have an exact timeline, but believed it could have been occurring for several months. Here's why this case lands like a brick. Because it isn't somebody might have been watching. Police say there was a device placed, positioned, and actively recording for close to an hour, in a place that's supposed to be the final pocket of privacy in public. And the customer who found it didn't find it because the vent looked broken. She found it because she had trained herself to look for the possibility that it could happen. So, what ties these stories together? Not a city, not a suspect, not even a method. It's the quiet idea that safety is increasingly treated like a setting you have to enable yourself. In every one of these stories, the break in the case isn't a superhero moment. It's a mundane decision to check under the bed, to believe the alert, to watch the hallway, to look up at the vent. Meaning the difference between nothing happened and it happened to you can be as small as whether you looked in the right direction on the right day. That's all for tonight. And if you're in a hotel, or getting into your car, or locking the door to a public restroom, just remember, the scariest stories aren't always the ones that sound impossible. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to like and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers and it would help greatly. Have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one.